You just got off the phone and you have a great opportunity to be able to flip a property and make a profit. But are you going to make a profit? And how can you be sure of that? In this video, we're going to help you with the tool that will be able to answer those questions. Now, like any amazing tool, the tool means nothing except for the wielder who's using it, right? Just like a contractor, the hammer means nothing if he's building a fence. What is amazing is what the contractor can do with that hammer to build this amazing deck, right? So even for you, this tool will help you be able to know and answer the question, am I going to make a profit? Let's get into it. Now, whether my team is running the numbers for you or you're running the numbers for yourself, there's a couple questions that we want to answer from this. First, we want to answer, is the data correct? Second, how much am I going to need to rehab to make this profitable? And the third question is, am I going to actually make a profit? So let's get into it. And the first to answer the question is the data correct? We need to look at the questions tab. And in the questions tab, it's all the gray boxes, right? You change only what's in the gray boxes, and that's the only data you really needed to be able to make a decision on whether you're going to be profitable or not. So through that, you're going to look at is answering the questions in the property data, the finances, and the market analysis. Once you have that data in there and accurate, then the second thing you're going to go ahead and do is check to see how much rehab do I actually need to do. Now, I credit a bunch of people with letting us be able to create this amazing tool that you have. And one of those people is TTP, Talk to People, Brent Daniels, and he breaks down just estimating repairs into these different categories, whether it's cosmetic, uplift, mechanical, for everything needs to be touched. Now, typically when you're analyzing numbers or my team's analyzing numbers, we may have not even seen the property, but we've talked to someone to roughly know where is the condition and where do we think it needs to go, right? And the second thing we're going to do is look at the comparables to see, okay, how much do I actually need to rehab? The worst thing you could do is actually rehab it too much so that you're not going to make a profit. So the way we do that is we do that through the comparable links tab. Now you could look through PropStream, Zillow, anything you want to find other comparables if you're doing it on your own, right? For us, we have access to the multiple listing service in Northwest Arkansas. And so that's where we pull our data. So when you're looking at them, you can then pull up the properties, look at the pictures and say, okay, is my property relative condition to this? This is what I need to do. Okay. We're not white walls and blonde floors. Let's go ahead and do white walls and blonde floors. How much does that cost, right? For me to be able to get this number. So once you do that and you figure out relatively what your number is, you can say, okay, I'm going to do painting and flooring. Okay, that's $31,000, right? And then here's the only time you can change it. But if you wanted to, if you needed to, if you're like, you knew the exact number, you can go ahead and change it here and type in. For us, we knew on this property that we analyzed this, we flipped this property, it was $13,000 worth of rehab. Now, once you answered those two questions, is the data correct? How much do I need to rehab? How much do you think it's going to sell for? You can change that after repair value there. Then you need to move into, am I going to make a good profit? And we do that on the flip analysis tab. And so in that tab, broad scope on the top, it's giving you your top numbers, right? So what you're rehabbing, what's your ARV going to be, your desired profitability, the max you're allowed to offer on the property if all your numbers are correct, and then your rehab budget. Now, after that, if you want to get more detailed or granular into it, you can. And so on the left side, it's the analysis based on the desired profitability. So your profitability doesn't change, but the purchase price changes. So here you can see really to get $80,000 of profit, you need to be making $441,000 as your purchase offer, right? Conversely, on the right side, it's more about what that purchase price is and then what will end up being your total dollar amount in profit, right? Oftentimes we don't get the exact profitability we want and based off that purchase price. We know what that seller is wanting to go ahead and offer to us, right, as their price. And do we make a profit on their price, right? So you can run the numbers in those two ways. Now, down below that, you'll see that if the rehab takes longer or shorter based off of your estimation, how much profitability is it going to take away? Like for example, this one you've got $80,000. But if it takes you longer than 180 days, then you're looking at losing 12 grand right there. And that is just based off the time factor. Nothing else changed. So here you'll be able to see what those numbers are. And then just down below, you have a return on your investment. How much money did you put into the deal versus how much did you get back out? And if you were to do the same deal over and over again, what would it be like on an annualized return? And I'm going to tell you, no one's making 32%. If they are, they got some pretty sweet gig going on. And then lastly, you have a 70% rule. This is just a normal rule that we've used for the longest time to basically like a rule of thumb. Does this work or does this spit not pencil out, right? There you go. If you want to get even more into the details, then on the detailed repair cost, you can go in here and just type in all the different costs it would take to be able to rehab this property. And then it gives you a more accurate number. And so that you can feel confident when going in and making that offer. So there you go. That's it. That's the tool. Once you know you can make a profit, now it's your turn to go ahead and take that action and purchase that property and feel confident that you're going to make a profit in the end. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to my team or message me below. It would be great to hear from you. Thanks. If you're still sticking around the video, you're awesome. What I want to go ahead and do is just actually analyze this deal and show you exactly a real life example of how we use this tool to analyze a property and then verify whether we're going to make a deal or not. So this is a legit property that we purchased, and you can see a property here where we went ahead and bought this property and we listed it. We bought it for $451,000. And we went ahead and rehabbed it. Cost us $13,000 to rehab. And then we eventually sold it for $566,000. So let's go ahead and analyze what we were looking at when we were first looking at this deal. So when we were looking at this deal, we ran some numbers, but the market was shifting at that time frame. So when we ran the numbers and we looked at it, we knew that we could get anywhere from $550,000 to $580,000. In fact, we got an appraisal in for $560,000. So in that, we wanted to make an $80,000 profit because we knew this was a bigger house than we normally flip, but we knew also there was no work. Now, what's funny is what ended up happening is we found some water leaks in the foundation and the concrete slab. Now, to be honest with you, you would freak out typically when that happens, but it only cost us about $3,500 to ultimately fully fix that issue. That's nothing. That's really nothing in the grand scheme of when you're making $40,000 per each. And that's what happened. Henry and I both make $40,000 each on this deal. So we ended up actually buying it for $451,000. We had rehab costs. Now, because I'm an agent, we didn't have fees for relisting it, right? So I can go down here. Ultimately, in the end, we made that $80,000. Now, it took us less than 180 days. So I can go back here and change those days to 100 and I think 10 days. Now there were some things the previous seller needed to stay there longer, so we extended that time frame, and that costs us money. That costs us, our monthly holding cost was about $3,700, but in the end, it ultimately worked out for her and it worked out for us to be able to purchase this deal, and we did end up making just under $40,000 each. So it was a great deal. It was a great deal. And we used it by looking at the comparables. Now, through this, I also want to tell you that I was a little worried because the market was shifting. It's a bigger house than I typically flip and would want to flip. But what we saw is, hey, we could go in here and we could do work and sell it for $480,000, $490,000, and we would still break even. We wouldn't lose any money. And so when we looked at the neighborhood, we saw that there were no houses that sold below $500,000. So anything above that would be pure profit. And so that's why we ultimately went forward and we bought the deal and flipped it. And 110 days, 100 and maybe even just 100 days, we ended up selling it and making a good return on it. So hopefully this encourages you and makes you take action to go and get deals yourself and use this tool. We're here to help you in whatever way you need. Thanks so much.